You. Which one are you again? Okay. You've been here many times.
Please stand. You guys
Cool. Oh, we got to stand for the pledge.
stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, gentlemen and ladies and 4-H, we're going to kind of go against the grain this morning. Normally, I'd ask for any corrections or deletions, but we're going to find out who we have here as our guest today. So I would like to pursue that. And again, meet the county commissioners up here, stay up there. If you have anything to say, we have, how many here?
A bunch.
4-H? So again, 74. So if you want to come up here, state your name, what you're here for. Obviously, our 4-H extension leader is here too, so please let us know what we got. You say, I'm gonna go against the grain here. And if you see me chewing, that's because they brought some lovely food for us, the rest of the commissioners, so go ahead and eat away, and you're all welcome to go back there and grab something, I hope, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
I didn't miss anybody.
So come on up and tell us what you have.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having the 4-H program here. Our Breakfast with the Commissioners and our 4-H proclamation for National 4-H Week is today. And we do this every year. I'm so excited. You're all in your T-shirts. And it's just a way for us to say thank you for supporting Extension in the 4-H program. And I have a few guests with me. I'll have them come and introduce themselves and tell us what 4-H club they're from.
Hello, I'm Ben Rudolph, and I'm from the Dynamites 4-H Club.
And Ben, you need to say more than that. You've been here a little longer than that, so you gotta give a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about you.
I'm a senior in high school, and I think I'm gonna show some beef at the fair this year.
All right, good to hear. Yep.
My name's Everett Rudolph. I'm a sophomore this year. I'm in Snappy Elmdalers and I show poultry and sheep.
And again, I had to put him on the spot. He always wears this big John Deere belt buckle. No John Deere belt buckle.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
It's a Peterbilt this time.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Brenda Rudolph, I'm mom to Everett and Vivian Rudolph, and we're Snappy Elmdiller, and I'm a 4-H volunteer.
It's okay.
Vivian shows sheep and poultry.
And she was here last year too.
She's been here when she's been like 1, so she's, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's exciting because now she is out of Cloverbud, and so now she's like full-fledged 4-H, and so that's been something she's been waiting for a long time. And so then this year she was able to go to Northeast for the first time, and so that's a big deal when you get in 3rd grade that you get to go to Northeast.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wilczek. I am been the leader of the Ripley Fireballs for like 20-some years, right, Becky? And so my my oldest will be 40, so I've been here a while too. When I brought my youngest, when he was starting 4-H, he is now 25, so.
All right.
My name is Max Abzelka, and I'm on the Snappy Elmdalers 4-H Club, and I'm in 8th grade, and I show dairy steers and poultry.
I'm Christine Zepzelka, Max's mom. I also have 2 others that are in 4-H. They show the poultry and the dairy steers. I am a parent, plus I'm also a 4-H volunteer.
Well, we appreciate that. Should we give them all a round of applause?
We should.
Yeah. So we'll give you a couple more minutes. Did you introduce yourself to everybody here?
I think we did, no? Yep. we're
Good,
good.
good.
Mr. Chair, can I have just a moment? I want to make a little comment about Vivian. Probably the youngest one here today, right? But there was a day when her brother was the youngest one here. And I'm going to go back to maybe 10, maybe 11, maybe 12 years ago, where Everett, to the best of my knowledge, is the only 4-H person, I think, that got to sit up here, sat in my chair, and have breakfast when you were about, how old, Everett? Pretty young, I think, right? Maybe, yeah.
And that was
But-
upstairs.
And that was upstairs, yep, that was a long time ago, so I'll never forget that one. And I watched him walk in this morning and I said, woo, what happened here? He went from yit to woo, yeah, all right, so glad to see you. Glad to see all of you, but glad to see you. And Vivian, glad to see you too.
Anything else, gentlemen, that you'd like to say?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
just like to say that it's so sweet to see you folks. I know that 4-H is a great character builder for you folks to bring animals and produce forward. It is so sweet. It does my heart good every year to see you folks at the fair. God bless your efforts.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, this is a great example of this morning and Commissioner Jelinski referencing Vivian. And I think all of us here have gotten the opportunity to watch all these young people grow up before our eyes. And I think not only of those that are with us here this morning, and we're very appreciative of that, but some of their siblings and friends who have, I'll say, kind of graduated out of 4-H and are young adults now that we cross paths with, maybe on a weekly basis or sporadically. And I think the great pleasure that we have in seeing these young adults being competent and caring and giving members of society, and that all comes from that interaction with leaders like we have here from the 4-H program, and that interaction with that program, and we see the fruit of what that does in instilling values and morals to these young people who then join us as productive members of society. So I'm grateful for breakfast this morning. I'm grateful that you're here, but I'm grateful especially to the leaders for the work that you do in helping to guide the youth in our county. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Again, myself, it's the parents, I know they're so involved with their children, and I really appreciate it, because going way back, I used to be in 4-H, and my parents too, so I understand what the parents have to go through, because they're hauling them here, hauling them there, getting their chickens and cows and everything else ready. It's not an easy task, but again, you 4-Hers hang in there and just stay with it, and pretty soon you'll be grand champion down at the state fair and be able to show off those trophies and that blue ribbons and all that good stuff. So again, I really appreciate the support that the parents do, and not only that, the kids that do in the 4-H. So with that being said, I'm gonna ask for approval of the, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, I have a motion, I need a second. I can second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, I guess we got a proclamation. Could we have somebody read that if they would like?
I think there's an extra copy.
Oh, Everett, did you forget the copy that you were supposed to bring?
He's good at farming, not reading.
All right, whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far, and whereas 4-H has helped over 200 youth in Morrison County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders, and whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provides experiences where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Morrison County who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And whereas 4-H's network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provides caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now therefore, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Wincher, does proclaim October 7th through 12th as National 4-H Week throughout Morrison County, encourages all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact they have made and continue to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime.
Thank you for that. I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on this.
I have a motion and I need a second.
I can second that,
I have the
Mr. Chair.
second. Any more discussion, gentlemen? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. One more thing. How about a photo op, huh?
I think that'd be great.
Without the commissioners?
Yeah, without the commission, no. Come on up, we'll get you in front row here. Bring your proclamation, too.
Bring your cattle.
Yep.
Bring all the dairy steers.
Please come.
We're short ones, so we gotta come on over.
Come on in here. See, there's your
Front row, folks. Front row, front row.
Come on, get up there, get up there. Get up there like you're gonna read it out.
Can you hold that glass in the front, otherwise it'll fall out.
Gotta get over. We gotta get together on the picture.
So come on in here.
It's okay. Nobody will bite. Come on, ladies. Nobody's gonna bite.
There you go.
And now we have to listen to Joseph, because he'll help us.
Christine, you want to take just a half a step? There you go. There you go. Can you take, Jeff, a half a step to your left? There you go. Much better. 1 second. Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day off of school.
Thank you for all your work.
Thanks, man.
See you later, Ben.
Let them clear out over there.
Thank you for the t-shirts.
Yes, thank you.
He's got his mouth full.
I warned them. Moving right along. Approval of consent agenda. Gentlemen, is there anything that you'd like to have removed?
That's fine, Mr. Chair. I also have some employee recognition,
Oh,
whenever you'd like.
we'll do the employee rec. Thanks for, the food is so great. Employee recognition, man. What do
All
you
right,
got?
thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd invite Land Service Director Amy Mittendorf to come forward, with a couple new employees.
Not land services.
Oh, my goodness, I got two Amy's. Let's go. I got two standing, Amy Kowalczyk in Land Services, and Colette, come on up. Yeah, thank you. And then Amy Mittendorf from IT.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to introduce to you our new feedlot officer. This is Colette Meyer. She started yesterday, so we'll be getting her up to speed. She has quite a bit of experience on farms as a farmhand with swine and with dairy. And so she comes to us with some practical knowledge of farming operations. So I think the timing of the 4-H day and introducing our feedlot officer is perfect. So, yeah, so Colette will be our new feedlot officer moving forward.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
May you have many years here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you both.
Morning, board.
Good morning.
Amy Middendorf, IT Director. I have two new staff members to introduce to you today. We have Ryan Klazowski, say it as best as I can. He's our new IT support specialist. He's been with us about a month now. He started September 10th. And then Janelle Lemon, she is our new help desk specialist, and she just started on the 23rd of September, so up couple weeks in.
Well,
Excellent. Welcome to you both.
Fantastic.
Great.
It's been a great onboarding, and hope to bring them down to see you a little more.
there you go.
Excellent. Absolutely. Anytime.
Don't ever be shy.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Thanks, Amy.
Enjoy your new jobs.
We'll be back.
And that's it, Mr. Chair, for new hires.
Appreciate that. All right, now I think if I get my right order here. Approval of consent agenda. Gentlemen, is there anything you'd like to have removed from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve our consent agenda as it stands.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye. I think we need a roll call.
Sorry. It's already, it's gonna be a.
Too much food. It was just been too good of a day so far.
All right, Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Casper.
Aye.
Oh, Mike's gone. Blaine.
Aye.
Myself as an aye, motion carried. All right, let's see if we can get back. Now
moving.
I'm gonna try one more time here. We got that proclamation? Farm to School Month proclamation.
Excellent.
You can come up and please, you can sit, stand, state your name and what you have for us.
Hi, I'm Samantha Barron with the Morrison County with the University of Minnesota Extension Office based in Morrison County, helping with the Farm to School project.
I'm Emily Loomis. I'm a community health educator here.
Carmen Bukowski, Morrison County Health and Human Services. Brenda Rudolph with, Brenda Rudolph with Raising a Farmer that provides proteins to schools.
Good morning. I see you got a little something here to show us, so.
Yes, so I will read the proclamation quick first, and then we can go through the photos quick, and then I'll let Brenda share a little bit more about what she provides to the schools. So, October is Farm to School Month. Whereas Farm to School enriches the connection in communities have with fresh, healthy food and local food producers by changing food purchasing and education practices at schools and preschools, and whereas Farm to School supports students' access to healthy local foods and educational opportunities, including school gardens, cooking lessons, and farm field trips, and whereas Morrison County local farmers, farm workers, and school nutrition professionals are key components of our state's vibrant food systems, with many expanding their efforts to provide food to our students and families. And whereas Farm to School efforts in Morrison County involve state agencies, community partners, farmers, and school food service programs across the region working together to lift up children, families, and communities in an equitable and inclusive way, and whereas Farm to School empowers children and their families to make informed food choices and strengthen the local economy, which contributes to vibrant communities, and whereas during this month, we should show our support and appreciation to our local food and farming heroes and celebrate Farm to School Month. Now, therefore, we, the Morrison County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim October as Farm to School Month.
Gentlemen, I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
I got a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you have something else for us?
Yes, we put together just a few photos just to show you some of the work that's been done over the past few years throughout Morrison County and Farm to School. Next slide, please. So this is a Little Falls School garden. You can see here there's students out working, staff, some photos of what they've harvested from the garden. Next slide. This is food service working in the kitchen, preparing coleslaw and fingerling potatoes, as well as juicing some produce to make spaghetti sauce. Next slide. This is some of the garden produce on the lunch line, so you can see they used tomatoes and lettuce on their taco pizzas. They made smoothies from fruit from the garden, as well as fresh peppers and cucumbers from the high tunnel that were on the salad bar. These are some taste sampling. So we do taste sampling through all the different schools. If it's using watermelon from the school garden to show students that you can flavor your water, to teach them about where green beans come from or where your chicken nuggets come from. So we try to get in throughout the schools throughout the month of October and just really educate the students on where their food is coming from. Great Lake Apple Crunch is a nationwide project. This happens on the 10th of October. We have quite a few students throughout Morrison County that are going to be receiving apples from the Foothills Orchard, Ron Welcher. So he's providing apples to different school districts, and all the students will crunch and bite into locally grown apples on Thursday. And then here's Vivian in the middle. So we did farm to school meals for like the past 7 years roughly. And so all the food comes from local farmers, the school garden, or local producers such as Brenda's Farm. And then just another photo of some of the meals that are served. They also use some of the different foods that are grown in the garden in the food classes throughout the high school. So they make different pies. They make pumpkin pies for the Thanksgiving meal. And so it's really used through a wide variety throughout the community. And then Brenda, if you want to share a little bit about what you provide to the schools.
So we provide proteins. Beef and pork is what we raise on our family farm. The conversations to be able to work with school districts happens like in the spring and even last fall, so that we can adequately prepare or to have the animals that we need to have to be able to provide for the school, but also it's a logistics. Also, schools are limited of what they can handle and what they can process and manpower and what they can cook and what they can prepare and stuff. And so we work with food services how can we help you and how can we, provide, the best quality product for you. We also work with Sprout here in town. And so then we're outside of Morrison County where schools source food ingredients through Sprout. And so Sprout is an amazing food hub that we have in Little Falls, which is amazing. It's amazing for our farm because now that we had transitioned to a direct market. And so it takes a lot of work and communication and collaboration with all entities to make it work so that students and youth get high quality food.
Anything else? Put you on the spot,
Carmen and I had the opportunity to be in Upsala School District yesterday doing some well-being things, but we were also able to talk about their farm to school meal coming up, so we're really excited to hear how that goes for them, and they're also participating in the Apple Crunch on Thursday, so it's nice to see schools from all over the county get involved.
Good. I have a just question now, that first slide that shows the garden, there's more to it than just looking at the slide, like who works that garden, do they, somebody weed it, it's like, wow, it looks pretty pristine if you ask me.
Yeah, so they have food service staff throughout the summer. The high school, the Little Falls High School, actually has a class in the spring that they plan the garden and then help plant the garden, as well as a class in the fall that helps harvest. But throughout the summer, they have a few students that help in the garden as well as a food service. So
Looks delicious, looks healthy too, I like to see that. Anything else, gentlemen?
Just a question, Mr. Chair. Is that garden over by the Franciscan Center?
yes,
I thought those pines in the background looked familiar.
yes,
You gals are making me all hungry, even if I'm full. Thank you.
yes, you're
Amazing.
welcome. Thank you.
I bet.
Commissioner Blaine?
Mr. Chair, a couple of questions. So, you talked about, I think Emily talked about being in Upsala and their farm-to-school meal. When we're looking at this produce and this program, this is more than a one-day event. This isn't a one day we're going to have lunch from the school. This is something that is more ongoing. So I recognize there has to be a tremendous amount of coordination and communication with food prep staff at the schools and that understanding about that. But The other question I have is the role that Sprout plays the one that allows produce like this to be utilized for school lunches? Because I was always under the understanding that you know, the government dictates to the school districts about sourcing food. And, you know, meat would have to be USDA approved and you know, steps would have to be taken to make sure that the food that's being used is fresh, it's safe and all of these things. Can you comment on that aspect of the schools, of the safety part of sourcing food like this for the children?
Yeah, I can touch a little bit on this. So kind of a little background on that. Schools are able to receive produce from Sprout. So like Brenda said, she can source her proteins through Sprout, and those can be then dispersed through other school districts.
Just
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so meats have to be USDA or equal to inspected. So there is a food quality safety. So the meat that we provide is USDA processed or equal to. But our beef and our pork, our USDA, our lamb is equal to. So I can't just go to the local butcher shop and have that done. Like, we have to have it at
Through
a
USDA
correct.
facility. Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay, so then now
Nope.
to the produce.
Yep, and then produce, schools can receive produce, if they have a small school garden, if they have some high tunnels at their school, if they have a greenhouse, they can prepare produce in their school as long as they're practicing food safety. And so that's where I also come in on the other side, is working with schools to make sure that they have the proper, equipment that is for commercial use. So like, it has to be a commercial juicer, making sure that they're preparing it correctly, cooling it, and then storage, that is being stored properly. But like you mentioned too, this isn't just a one-day meal. This is, I mean, they're using squash throughout the whole year. They're using tomatoes throughout the whole year. And so if there's, for example, Ron Welcher from the Foothills Orchard, he provides a lot of apples to the schools. That's okay to do. Farmers Market, I know there's different vendors at the Farmers Market that provide to different schools. And again, Sprout, they have foods coming from Todd County, Morrison County, Wadena County. So.
Right, and that goes into the collaboration with the discussion of what are your capabilities of, because each school district has a different of the equipment that they have. There are grants out there for them to apply for that, but it's an ongoing year-round process. It's not just a one day and here we are.
Yeah, like Brenda said, we started working together with all school districts. So every school district invited, including the parochial schools, were invited to, we call it the Farm to School Committee. And it started already last winter when there was snow on the ground. And like Brenda said, it allows people to prepare what do you need to grow, what do you need to raise on your farm, to be able to provide schools with what they may need for the next year. So that group meets monthly. And we'll continue to meet throughout the year.
And thank you, because you kind of helped me bridge to that thought of, we have a really vibrant and growing farmers market in Little Falls, and there's others emerging and growing too in this region of the state. So it is possible for schools to utilize produce from farmers markets. It doesn't have to come just from a school garden or a school high tunnel. They can access food rather than off a food service semi-truck that shows up once a week or X amount of time.
Yep. The hindrance is the volume of what a school needs. And so that's where then the conversations need to happen in the wintertime, so that farmers can provide the volume of what the schools need.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication. I applaud all of you for your work that way, and it's good for the community. It's obviously good for the children, and obviously helps the school districts out, too. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Pinsky.
Thank you. How long can we keep this produce? And that's kind of a loaded question. How long can you keep produce? Well, until it's no good anymore. I get that, but my question more is that I don't think I know the answer. That's why I'm asking it. Can we do this daily in our schools? I don't think that we have enough, but I don't know the answer to that. So are we actually utilizing the pictures that we're seeing here of the gardens, of the fruits, of the vegetables? Are our students getting this stuff every day, or is there a day of the week that it's farm to school day? Maybe you can help me on that one?
I would say each school district differs a little bit. Some schools are just starting out. Some schools, districts have been doing this for a few years. Some of the pictures here, like especially the squash, a lot of that is processed in the school kitchens and then froze, and then they will put it into different soups or different meals. The watermelon and cantaloupe, that's going to be used right away. They'll put that into smoothies. Green beans, they'll blanch and freeze those, and then they can be used in different meals. And so I know just myself going into the schools to inspect, I see a lot of garden produce right now in the freezers that they'll use throughout the fall and the winter till it's run out. So they use it as long as they can. I wouldn't say it's every day, but they're getting it throughout the week.
Beautiful.
So,
Thank you. That answered it, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Not growing bananas.
No bananas. No bananas. Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? If not, I thank you for the proclamation, but don't leave, because again, I think we have a photo op.
Oh, I think definitely a photo op.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning again.
Right here.
Okay.
Sam or Emily? Just hold it front.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tab. Bye, Vivian.
Okay, moving right along. We have another proclamation, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
And here they come. Good morning.
Good morning again.
We have little gifts for you today too. Thanks to staff member Nick Reed made these.
All right.
Who made them?
Nick?
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very
You're
kindly.
a magnet to it if you want. I think we're gonna do that
They
for the
even
future.
smell original.
They are.
They
They're
smell
real
good, yeah. Thank you.
You can have a seat, guys, if you want. So thank you. This morning, we are bringing forth to you a Cybersecurity Awareness Month proclamation. Would you
So
like
if
me
we
to?
could introduce ourselves before we read the
Sure.
proclamation, it'd be nice.
Okay, so Amy Middendorf, the IT Director.
I'm Ryan Kosowski, the IT Specialist.
Janelle Lemon.
Dan Leahy, Network Administrator.
Nick Reed, Systems Administrator.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, Amy, you
Morning.
have the floor.
Yeah, so this is the staff securing our organization here, and we are here to support the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation and then let you know kind of what we're doing here within the county. Whereas Morrison County recognizes that it has a vital role in identifying, protecting its citizens from, and responding to cybersecurity threats, that may have significant impact to our individual and collective safety and privacy. And whereas critical infrastructure is increasingly reliant on information systems and technology to support financial services, energy, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, healthcare, and emergency response systems. And whereas cybersecurity education and awareness are crucial for everyone, including large corporations, small businesses, financial institutions, schools, government agencies, the home user, and anyone who connects to the internet. And whereas monitoring your accounts, being conscientious of what you share online, keeping computer software up to date, creating unique passwords, and changing them regularly. Implementing multi-factor authentication, installing antivirus programs and firewalls, and using mobile devices safely are always ways you can protect yourself from phishing, viruses, malware, financial loss, and a loss of sensitive data. And whereas the campaign theme, Secure Our World, serves as a campaign to bring what seems like a complex subject back to focusing on the people part of cybersecurity. This theme will focus on providing information and resources to help the public make smart decisions while on the job, at home, at school, and in the future. And whereas the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Workforce Framework is a free resource to help organizations, both large and small, public and private, improve their cybersecurity practices through a practical approach to addressing the ever-evolving cybersecurity threats and challenges. And whereas maintaining the security of cyberspace is a shared responsibility in which each of us has a critical role to play, an awareness of essential cyber hygiene will improve the security of Morrison County's information infrastructure and economy. And whereas the federal government of the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, the National Association of State Chief Information Officers, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance all recognize October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and all citizens are encouraged to visit these websites to learn about cybersecurity, to put that knowledge into practice in their homes, schools, workplaces, and businesses. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Morrison County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim that Morrison County is officially supporting the month of October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Gentlemen,
Thank
I
you.
need a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Who got that one? And Ty goes for one.
Play it where you want.
And then need a second, so yeah, there you go. All right, any more discussion, gentlemen? Commissioner Casper.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was just going to say that your work, it's hard to put a price tag on what you folks do. It is just absolutely incredible. Every time I turn on my computer, I think about you folks and your job to keep things safe, because there's a lot of fools out there. We thank you for the good guys that you are, that you keep an eye for us. Thank you so much for all your work.
Anything else, gentlemen? Again, I'll just point this, Amy and I always have this discussion too. It's becoming, I mean, the internet is becoming the trend, obviously, here in the last few years. So who would ever thought that we'd come to this point where the whole world is kind of controlled by the internet, and there's people out there that don't like some certain companies, whatever, so they try to make it life miserable for us, and that's what we have you five here for, to protect these phishing and whatever. And again, it's gets complicated. I barely can answer my own phone, so, but I thank you very much, so appreciate that. Gentlemen, any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, could I just share with what we're doing within the organization?
Yes, you can.
Sure. So just to let you all know, within Morrison County, for the employees, we're ramping up this month a few training sessions. They're all going to be optional, but we want to really let our employees know that these are things that you can do to be safe, and as the proclamation states, here at the job and at home. So that information is valuable here. The 4 main focuses this month is strong, long passwords. The new standard is don't make it complicated, make it long. They call them passphrases. Use a phrase that only you know, and things like that. You don't need to change it as often as you might think, unless you're compromised. Implement multi-factor authentication on anything that you can if a service offers it. Enable it. And then keep your phones, your laptops and things at home and at work up to date with the latest software updates. I know people get those little notices on their phones and they click later, but those updates really are there to protect you. And the fourth one escapes me at the moment, unless one of you remembers it. But the fourth one escapes me at the moment.
But I'll
Oh,
help you out.
reports, that was the big one. Report your phishing and incidents. And the state of Minnesota just passed legislation that we as in public and critical infrastructure are required to report any incident, major incidents. So that's a kind of a huge leap for cybersecurity in the state of Minnesota. It's nationally required in critical infrastructure like wastewater and energy, but now it's a state level requirement. So that's it's good and bad. We'll get more data and we'll be able to understand the trends in the state of Minnesota. And that implements on December 1st.
And you brought up a kind of an irritating word to me, password. Again, again, this is me, it took me a while to teach myself, I'll remember the password, never remember it. So then you have to go reset it, but then we're continuously getting up, you gotta change your password. So now I got smart and with Amy's help, is you write it down, that really makes a big difference. And plus you gotta remember where you wrote it down too, so to change your password. Yeah, I'm sure not everybody, but some of them have a challenge with them passwords, so, but again, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, Amy, your department now is fully staffed, correct? And this isn't, we're missing someone, right?
We are missing someone. Our 6th member will be joining us on the 21st of October.
Okay,
cool.
Our brand new position, the security manager.
And I'm sure you'll introduce that.
And I will introduce her when she is here, yes, yes.
Okay, anything else? If not, come on up, photo op.
Oh,
That's
yes.
right, absolutely.
Without the commission.
Smaller groups at least.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how about you?
There he is. Welcome aboard.
Talk yourself up as close as you can to the.
Gotcha.
There we go.
You gotta get the chief.
And then listen to the photographer and we'll have a wave.
All right.
All right.
Perfect. All right. Good day. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe.
Keep up the good work.
Stay safe.
Thank you again, Tabitha.
Second verse, same as the first.
Okay, moving along. Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation. Come on up. Read that. Got 5 chairs, 6, 7 chairs. So, yeah, there we go.
There
They
we're
are
cooking.
gonna bring us the chairs. So, the Domestic Awareness Month, please state your name and tell you what you bring towards the board this morning.
My name's Stephanie Cox. Stephanie Ock, Executive Director.
I'm Rocio Fernandez Lugo, the Domestic Violence Services Coordinator.
Let's do this one. Taylor Hernandez, the Child Abuse and General Crimes Coordinator.
Norm Hudson, I'm a volunteer advocate.
Anita Kempenick, and I've been a volunteer advocate for 34 years.
Marilyn Bartel, Assistant Director.
All right, welcome this morning. So tell us what you have for us.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we're here to present a proclamation.
And whoever would like to read it, go right ahead.
I drew the short stick.
Lucky.
I'm just joking. Whereas 1 in every 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime, and approximately 15.5 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year. Whereas when a family member is abused, it can have long-term damaging effects on the victim as well as family members, friends, and the community at large. Whereas families are indispensable to a stable society, and they should be a place of support to instill responsibility and values in the next generation. Whereas violence against women and children is a prevalent public health problem that is widespread and devastating to society as a whole. Whereas the problem of domestic violence is not confined to any group or groups of people, but crosses all economical, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal barriers. Where the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control or abuse. Whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and access to medical and legal services, counseling, emergency and transitional housing, and other supportive services so that they can escape the cycle of abuse, and domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law. Whereas we encourage domestic violence victims and their families to seek assistance from appropriate victim services organizations such as Hands of Hope Resource Center. Whereas from October 1st, 2023 to the present date, Hands of Hope Resource Center served 168 adult victims of domestic violence and 100 children victims of domestic violence. Whereas it is important to recognize the compassion and dedication of the individuals who provide services to victims of domestic violence and work to increase public understanding of the significant problem. Whereas important partnerships have been formed among criminal and juvenile justice agencies, healthcare providers, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of domestic violence and their families. Whereas Morrison County has a moral obligation to work to prevent domestic violence, address its brutal and destructive effects, and make ending domestic violence a local priority. Now, therefore, the Morrison County Commissioners at this moment proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to actively support Hands of Hope Resource Center's work towards the elimination of domestic violence.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
I'll move on this.
I have a motion, I need a second.
I can second that.
I have a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Zelinski.
I've sat on the Hands of Hope Resource Board for my career as a commissioner, and I have been involved with Hands of Hope for many years prior to that, in my prior life. We just heard from IT on changing our passwords, and that we need new passwords constantly. The password for this perhaps would be STOP. Very simple, S-T-O-P, stop. Stop this now. Stop this nonsense. Stop these beatings. Stop this bad language that is happening, whatever it might be, because there's many different kinds of violence, and we all know what it is. Whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's anything. So how do we go about stopping it? I don't know. Don't have the answer for that. I wish it was as easy as a password, because if it was, we could perhaps see a lot more success in stopping what happens with domestic violence. I cannot speak loud enough for the volunteer coordinators with Hands of Hope that, folks, I got to tell you, what does a volunteer coordinator from Hands of Hope do? It's 3 o'clock in the morning and the phone's ringing. Somebody's going to answer it. Might sound kind of crazy, but it does. volunteer coordinators, volunteer people. These people don't get paid for this. They volunteer for this. It's a big deal, huge deal. And I really do wish that it was as simple as changing a password to prevent the activity that happens. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for the proclamation. And young lady, that was a very nice job that you did. Whether you chose and picked the wrong straw or not, it doesn't matter. Wonderful job, and thank you for that. Mr. Chair, that's all I've got.
Gentlemen, anything else? Commissioner Casper.
Yeah, I just think thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's great that you gals stick up for these folks. A shoulder to cry on oftentimes. Thank you. Like my fellow commissioner says, Mr. Jelinski, you wish you could just stop it, but this side of eternity, we have to face it head on. And thank you for being there for these folks. It's huge. A lot of us need a shoulder to cry on at times and support, and thank you for what you do. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wayne, do you have anything?
Mr. Chair, I just, one of the paragraphs towards the beginning of this proclamation where it says, whereas families are indispensable to a stable society, and I believe that to be very baseline, fundamentally true. And there are a lot of forces out there in this day and age in society that looks to tear that down or devalue the family model, and we see the effects of that on society. I will just take this opportunity to say thank you all for not just your work, but your commitment to your work. Many of you, we've seen your paths crossed with us for many years now, so I recognize a very strong commitment to your work, and I will say that our community and our county is very lucky that we have you, because there are a number of areas in the state of Minnesota and certainly across the country that do not have access to a resource like this. We can only imagine in dark thoughts what may be happening without opportunities for someone to intervene. So you do work that's difficult, that's challenging, and that certainly is important for families, and I place great value on that within our community, so thank you.
And I just want to make a note, you have hundreds of victims, and those are the ones that are reported. How about the ones that aren't reported? So again, it just shows what Hands of Hope does, whether you're a director, whether you're a volunteer. I mean, this is something that, it's a need and just in our county. And like you said, one of the commissioners said, statewide, they don't even have this somewhere to go, somewhere to call. So we just appreciate, and I'm sure a lot of people here in the county appreciate what Hands of Hope does. And I always ask this question, where is Hands of Hope? I know where it is, but just to put that out there for the media people, so. Where are you located?
I guess I can speak to that. So we're located in the historic courthouse on the main level. And if people want to reach out to us, our 24-hour line is 320-632-4878.
Thank you for that, because it's good to get your name. Again, I'm sure not everyone knows what Hands of Hope is, and again, it's something that should be out there where people have a place to turn. So again, thank you for everything that you do, and we appreciate you coming forward today. Gentlemen, anything else? If not, come on up and we'll see if we can get your photo.
I think we have, did we?
We
got a motion and a second.
Oh, we didn't approve that yet? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now you can come up forward. Get it close.
See, would you want to be the?
You go, girl. Oh, but we can, two people. I'm always short, so, you know, I get to be either in the middle or.
Everybody gotta get in there. Everybody get in
Just
there.
look at the photographer. They'll tell you where to
choir
stand.
turn.
All right.
Got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Keep up the good work. Nice job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Stay safe, my friend.
Appreciate you. Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again, Cabs.
Well, the room's getting emptier.
We're done.
Down to the left.
We'll let them get here first. Okay, moving right along, Lake Shamana.
Mr. Chair, as our Lake Shamana rep is coming forward, I'd also like to point out that we have members of the Lake Shamana Lid joining us virtually, to include Cindy Cavrine, if that's right, and Cavern, and Fred, and I think Rick Rosar as well, so.
All right, thank you for that. So, yes, state your name and we know why you're here, but tell the press why you're here, so.
Yeah, I'm Bob.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
If everybody could state their name for the record.
I'm Bob Engel, Lake Shamana Lid Board Vice Chair.
my name is, Mr. Chairman, oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Cindy.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Cindy Kevern. I'm the Lake Shamana Lake Improvement District Administrator. And as you said, I think we have Rick and Fred with us online as well. I don't know if they want to introduce themselves.
Yeah, is Rick there? Are you muted, Rick? Okay, well, we'll just move forward. I don't know who's doing the presentation, but go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, thank you very much. As you know, we've talked about this for many years now, but we want to do an annual report to update you on what's going on, what went on in 2024 and what will be going on in 2025. Next slide, please. So we'll talk about the activities in 24, review our plan for 25. We're also going to talk a little bit about the high water project and then also our 2025 budget. Next slide. So the first thing that we always talk about is our AIS, or aquatic invasive species work that we do. We do lake surveys, we do remediation to remove the species from our lake, and also we are very thankful that we receive money from Morrison County for the AIS Partnership Grant, which helps us fund brochures, which we're actually in the middle of purchasing for next year with our other lakes in the area. We do survey and treatment with that funds, public access signage, and then the ambassadors, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We also have done an annual sampling for zebra mussels and spiny water flea, and so far we have no infestation. So it's almost like a miracle that we don't have zebra mussels in our lake, but we do a lot of work to prevent it. Next slide. So we do survey our lake twice a year in June and August. We hire a company called Freshwater Scientific Services. During that survey, they look for aquatic invasive species. They mark those areas, and where they're marked, they look at the depth, the density, and then that helps us determine the treatment areas. And in the next slide actually shows the areas for this year that were found. So the yellow highlighted areas are the treatment plots where we actually come in and put chemicals down to treat the Eurasian water milfoil. And then the blue dots are actually hand pull sites. So we actually hire scuba divers that go in and pull it. We have done a very good job of keeping the Eurasian milfoil at bay. So we're very pleased with our program. And the next slide shows curly leaf pondweed, which if you recall, you probably have heard this from Crookneck, that they've had a lot of curly leaf pondweed in the past. We have not had as much, but we have a problematic patch in your lower right-hand corner that we're going to start treating because of the quantity that's there. So the yellow highlights show the proposed treatment plots for curly leaf pondweed. It's very thick. In fact, the house that we used to own is over by that right, the problem area on the right, and it's very thick in there. It's very difficult to even sometimes get boats through later in the year. So we are going to be treating that next year. Next slide. Our ambassador program. So we, last year in 23, felt that we didn't have enough ambassador time on the lake, and it was a problem because we were having difficulty in hiring ambassadors. So this year we put a lot more oversight into the program. We had one of our directors, Dwayne Hendricks, who just put a lot of time into figuring out how to hire them and staff them. We increased the pay that we gave them, and we also gave them an incentive bonus if they worked the entire year, because we were having trouble where we'd hire ambassadors and then they would quit on us. We actually ended up hiring most of retirees, so I think that also helped with the longevity of them staying the entire year. What they do is they educate boat launch users about cleaning and draining of the boats, as well as disposition of used bait. This year we had 4 ambassadors. They provided a total of 774 hours. As I mentioned, we gave them a bonus. Each ambassador interacted with approximately 15 to 30 boaters during their shifts. Some visitors did suggest, we asked them to give some feedback to us. Some did suggest that perhaps spot coverage during the week would be helpful, and also a boat cleaning station. People always mention that would be helpful. There were no violations reported by the ambassadors. They don't do anything to enforce rules, but they do try to talk to people, and then they take note if there is, for example, if somebody absolutely refused to clean their boat before they went into the lake, that would be a violation. For 2024, the total cost of the ambassador program was $17,802. And I believe the amount of the AIS grant in 2024 for the ambassador program was, let's see, $6,500. So we did have to fund the remaining portion out of our 2024 budget. Next slide, please. The other activities that we had is communications. So we have 4 regularly scheduled board meetings during the year. We just do it through the season. So we have fall, winter, spring, and then our annual meeting in the summer. We announce them on our website. We hold them kind of in a hybrid fashion. We hold them online, but we also have a viewing opportunity at the Scandia Valley Town Hall. So we have board members both online and at the hall. And we have people both online and at the hall. And interestingly enough, we keep tabs on how many attend, and we do tend to have more people attend through the online option than they do in person. The meetings are open to the public, and notes are posted on the website. We send out periodic electronic newsletters. I know a number of you are on our newsletter list, so you probably see them. We do mailings through the U.S. Mail. We've sent out 2 this past year. And then, of course, on our website, we have a lot of information about meetings, the High Water Project, financial information. We try to put out as much information as we can. Also, I should mention that we have the audit of our financial records are in process. Next slide. The High Water Outlet Project. So just in case there's people in the audience that aren't aware of our project, The purpose of the high water project is to establish a maximum operating level. For many years now, our lake has been flooded. You'll see in a minute that we've had above normal rainfall again this year, so we do have people that have water in their basements and have to pump out water. They've had to put a lot of cost into their shoreline or adjusting their homes so they're higher. So there's been a lot of issues around the lake. The project includes the installation of a lake outlet structure and a pumping station at the west end of the lake. This past year, we actually awarded a contract to Landwehr Construction for that construction of the outlet, and then we hired Houston Engineering to oversee the project. In order to fund the project, we acquired temporary financing, basically kind of a short-term loan. The pump was installed, including a gravity flow pipe and manholes along Pulaski Road. We also bored pipe along the east side of 10, under 203, and then west under 10, because eventually the water then would flow through that series of pipes and ditches and eventually hit the Long Prairie River. The contractor constructed a cofferdam at the inlet area of the lake to allow for dewatering. They had to dewater basically the lake to install the inlet structure. The pump house has been built and is complete. The pump has been installed and tested, and then we provided construction updates on the LID website. Next slide. So you may have heard that we got a lot done. We were very excited. The winter was warm enough that we could do all of the work that I just mentioned. But unfortunately, in the spring of 2024, after a period of heavy rain, we discovered an issue with a small portion of the gravity pipe on the west side of Highway 10, approximately 60 feet. Houston Engineering has been working with the contractor to determine a plan and timeline to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, the above normal rainfall has created wet conditions delaying the repair process. We've been trying to get in there. Now I know that September's a little bit drier, but we have been trying to get in there to get soil borings, to get testing done, to determine how the repair can be done, and it's been problematic. The original project completion date was scheduled for September 30th, 2024, and the project unfortunately has been delayed beyond that date. Next slide. This provides a little bit of status on that repair issue. We have had meetings with Landwehr and Houston Engineering. We've been trying to determine the extent of the pipe issue. We're concerned that it might be more than just that 60 feet, so we're trying to get in and determine the entire extent and also the possible solutions for the repair. The cause of the problem, is I just mentioned, must be determined to ensure that the repair won't happen again, or that the issue won't happen again. One of we're trying to work very closely with Landwehr Construction to determine this. In fact, we just recently took soil samples in the area to try to identify the cause and determine the repair solutions. It has not been an easy process, I'll just say that at the outright, to work with the construction company to get a specific plan for the repair and a timeline. We have halted payments to the contractor, and the work that was completed is under review. Houston Engineering and the contractor have been working to determine a plan, as I just mentioned, and then the wet conditions have been continued and have caused problems in determining that exact solution for the repair. Once the repair work is completed, pumping would be able to begin. So in other words, we're basically ready to try, as long as we can get that repair done, we can pump even in the winter months. We have made people aware of it, so agencies in Todd and Morrison County, the DNR are all aware of the status of the project and will continue to provide updates. And also the LID website has project updates. We also, I want to mention, talked about this at our annual meeting and in the letters that we sent out to our property owners, so they are also aware of our status. And I'm going to, in a later part, I'm going to talk about the timeline in a minute, but before I do that, I want to go to the next slide, which talks about the annual meeting. We did hold our annual meeting on August 31st. We used survey and ballot systems again to administer the voting process with both mail-in and online options for voting. We had 159 ballots cast out of 306 eligible voters, so we had 52% voting. All three of our budget questions were approved with a fairly high approval rate. The non-project budget of $59,000 had a 65% approval rate. The IS budget of $32,000 had a 73% approval rate, and the high water project of $220,000 had a 62% approval rate. Now, I'll discuss each of those a little bit later. We also had elections for our directors. So this year we had if you remember, our board has 5 members, 3 of which are permanent residents, meaning they have to live there or that has to be their primary home, and then 2 are seasonal. This year we had 2 seasonal residency director seats open. The 2 incumbents, Fred and Rick, both did receive the most votes, so they're elected to another 2-year term. We also had a 3rd person, John Schuler, who had his name on the ballot. We had one permanent residency seat. Patricia Tweet, who is an incumbent, did win. She actually was unopposed, although there were 31 write-in ballots. Next slide. So here's a little summary of our 2024 accomplishments. We did the survey, treatments, and hand pulling for the AIS. We had a successful program for ambassadors. We had quarterly LID meetings. We had newsletters, U.S. mail letters, website updates. We also had a number of high water project milestones. As I mentioned, we really got everything done except for the issue that we're having now with our pipe. We had positive votes on all budget items, and then our financial audit for 2023 is nearing completion. Next slide. Moving into 2025, we will have similar activities for the aquatic invasive species for 2025, surveys, hand pulling, chemical treatments. Again, we're going to apply for the Morrison County grant, and we're hoping that we might even get an increase for our ambassador program. So that will help fund our brochures, survey, signage, and then the ambassadors. Next slide. We'll again work with our communications, our newsletters, continued mailings. We do post our treasury reports. As I mentioned, our financial audit is in process, and actually 2023 will probably be done in the next couple of weeks. And as soon as the year is over, we'll start working on 2024. So it is kind of an ongoing process with the audit. And we do post a lot of information on our both our construction updates, but also other information. And then the next page, next slide. This is what I wanted to talk about a little bit with regard to the high water project. So we are trying to work very hard with the engineer and the contractor right now. We're trying to schedule a number of meetings to work and try to work out a schedule and process for that repair. And we hope to complete that this fall. Once the repair process is determined, then we'll have a schedule, and we're very hopeful that we can complete that repair. I'm not sure it'll be done in the fall, although fall does go into December, but we're very hopeful that we'd be done in early winter. And if that happens, then we can start up pumping operations in the winter and spring. We do still have a 429 assessment hearing that we will have to hold. Once the construction is complete and we know the total cost, because we don't know the exact dollar amount right now, we will hold a public hearing, and that will then determine the final assessment and charge amounts for each property. Notice will be mailed to all those property owners, and they'll have the option to either pay off in full, or they'll have the option to pay over time, approximately 7 to 10 years. And then those charges and assessments will start in 2026 and then go beyond. And I would like to mention, we have met with staff from Morrison County to work through this process that we would have for how that will appear on the property tax statements and how they will take payments for that. They've been extremely helpful. So we're we have a process set up, and we're just getting ready to be able to do it. We were hopeful we were going to do it and start it now for 2025, but it looks like it'll be 2026. Next slide. So one of the questions we get is, how much will the property owners be charged? In 2025, with the approval of votes 1, 2, and 3, the charge for a residential property owner will be approximately $894.20. We say approximately because while we know how much the budget is, we never know exactly the number of parcels until the end of the year. Property owners around the lake sometimes combine their properties. If they own 2 parcels next to each other, they combine them, and that reduces the number of parcels for purposes of this charge. So it might vary a few dollars back and forth because of that. Also, I want to mention vote 3 that we just talked about. It's called the High Water Project Budget for Operations, and that actually funds the electricity and the operational costs for the high water project. Once the pump and the whole project is in place, and we actually get to pumping down the lake could, once it's down to ordinary high water, we will pause pumping. And what that means is in future years, that vote 3 for operations will be reduced because the amount of electricity that will be required will be less or perhaps even 0. The other question, and by the way, before I want to pause just for a minute because I realized there was something I did not put in this presentation, and that was the lake elevation. I just want to mention that the most recent elevation reading we're about 1 foot over the ordinary high water mark. And just for your information, this time, October 20th of last year, so around this time, it was 0.59. So we are almost half a foot higher today than we were last year. So the rains did really hurt the lake this year. The next question is, how much will the residential property owner, obviously we have 3 commercial properties too, but so this is just for residential, pay for the project assessment and charge? Because we don't have the total costs right now, this is not an up-to-date amount. It's the amount that was sent out in June 2023. And the reason we use $5,550,000 is that is the maximum amount that was approved by the property owners for this project. At that amount, the standard charge would be $9,364, and the average total assessment would be $6,500. So approximately $15,000, almost $16,000 per parcel. Now that amount was determined before we received the DNR grant. So you might remember that last year about this time, we had received notice that we would receive a DNR grant of up to $3 million from the state. And we are using that money to reduce the costs. So as we're paying our bills, our construction costs, for example, we're submitting them to the DNR and getting those reduced. So while the maximum amount is $5.5 million, we anticipate that the actual cost of the project will be less than that for the residential property owners, and therefore the amount of the standard charge and assessment amounts will be reduced. Next slide. So that leads us to the budget for 2025, which is what we're asking approval for today. The non-project budget is $59,000. The AIS budget is $32,000, and then that project budget for operations, as I mentioned, for it's actually for some maintenance costs we have for the outlet, as well as the electricity costs, is $220,000. So that is a total of $311,000 with an estimated per charge rate of $894.20. One of the questions we get often is, how much was it last year in 2024? So in 2024, the budget amount was 318. This year it's 311, so it is a little bit less. And last year, the charge total was about 895, so it was about the same. Even though the budget cost has gone down, also the number of parcels that we're charging has gone down, and that's why the charge rate has stayed pretty much the same. We're also asking for approval of this annual report, which includes our 2025 performance plan. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions. I know Rick is on, so he can answer questions as well.
Then we'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
All right, I need a second.
I can second
Any more
Any
discussion?
more
Mr.
discussion?
Chair, just to clarify, that motion is to approve the 2025 budget, 2025 performance plan, and levy charge of $894.20 for Lake Chaminade.
That's correct.
Correct. Thank you for that, Matt. All right, gentlemen, any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, at the very least, a comment. I would like to say that it would appear that the ambassador program, although it cost a little bit more than was anticipated for the lake, was a certain success and a very good use. I do have a question on high water, and we don't have to get into any kind of a battle over this. I'm just asking the question. We've had a date as to when it was going to be completed. I understand very clearly there's an issue with the pipes, but there really is no date as to when we're going to be able to start pumping. Does anybody have any idea when there will be a date? When we can possibly put a date on that? I know we're asking the crystal ball because we don't have an answer for it today, but if I was on the other side, I'd be asking that question. When will there be a date? 2 years from now? A year from now? And I get it, this winter, hopefully. Later this fall, hopefully. I understand that. But do we have any kind of a date? And probably not. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
My question would be, is in your beginning of your presentation, you stated that you're holding money from the contractor. And I'm also involved with a different board I sit on, where the contractor is stating the engineer gave them the wrong information, but yet they hold the contractor responsible and not the engineer, because the engineer is protected from any misguided information they give. Is that your situation here?
Pretty much, yes. And to answer the other question, as far as dates, we don't have anything any more specific than late fall or winter at this time. Hopefully this winter, we should have more of a definitive date.
So you're not holding money from the engineer either, just the contractor, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, to clarify though, we have only been billed from the engineer for activities that are not related to the repair. So they have not submitted any bills to us to date that are specifically related to the issue.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Blaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask our administrator if we can go back a few slides to the slide with the costs and cost per parcel on the high water project. I don't remember what number slide that was, but it listed.
Might be 18, yeah. Oh, that one, okay.
That's the slide right there. So we have a total estimated cost of, about $5.5 million, with a standard, the standard charge and then the average total assessment. Is the standard charge and the total assessment, are those added together per parcel? So we're looking at about 15,000.
Yes.
Roughly, or maybe actually closer to about 16,000 actually, just to shiver under 16 grand per parcel. And you had mentioned that this was figured prior to or without recognition of the DNR grant. And so do we know, well, obviously because of the issue with the pipe, that total construction cost total project cost is still not definitive. So that could actually increase. But I'm a little bit confused because you had mentioned you're submitting things to the DNR in recognition to the grant. In my mind, if we have a $5.5 million project and we have a $3 million grant from the DNR, that would erase about 55% of the cost of the project. Is that correct? And which would reduce the cost to each parcel by that same value. Is that correct? Or is part of that grant money being utilized now prior to the total project cost, and then this assessment would not be reduced at that same rate?
So the answer to that is a little bit complex. First of all, the DNR grant is a 50-50 match. So if we literally spent $5.5 million, we would not receive $3 million, we would receive half of the $5.5 million. Okay. Secondly, while things went smoothly and we were anticipating, that the cost would be much lower, we are incurring some costs because time is going on. For example, with financing, I mentioned that we had a temporary financing loan. Well, now that it's taking a little bit longer to get this done, we are incurring some finance charges for that loan. We quite frankly are also incurring some legal costs, so we're using attorneys to help us go through this. And we are doing some soil testing. So there are some additional costs that we're incurring as we go on. Now, that's why it's very hard, and also the number of parcels or properties has gone down as well. I noticed that number is 338. I think our current parcel rate is 319, so you can see that the number of properties that are going to get charged also has been reduced. So it's very difficult. There's a lot of moving parts here. And it's very difficult to say exactly how much the standard charge or the average assessment will be. The point that we're trying to make is the most we can spend is $5.5 million. And we also have this DNR grant. We're lucky to have that DNR grant, I might add. So we do anticipate that the cost will be less than $5.5 million. We just can't tell you that it will be half of that.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So to date right now, what is the total cost of the project as we sit right now? Do we know that?
We can probably get that. I think, Fred, do you happen to have that? I don't know if he's online. And by total cost of the project, do you mean how much have we paid to the contractor?
No, I want to know what is the incurred cost as we sit right now? If we looked at this project and say how much money has the LID committed to this project right now, what is that number? You said, Cindy, you had mentioned, pardon me, Cindy had mentioned that you have a $5.55 million limit. Is that a hard stop also?
Yes, we cannot. We only have authority from our members to spend up to $5.5 million. I have to say that I do not have the total cost in front of me. We can get that for you unless Fred happens to be online and has it.
If I may, Commissioner Blaine, are you asking how much they have spent so far? Is that your question?
Yes, what that cost is. Obviously, it is less than $5.55 million because that becomes the ceiling or the stop out there. So I'm assuming it's less than that, but you're also incurring costs currently too. And so, yeah, if we could get that number, where we're at now in relationship to the 5.55. The other thing, or I guess the other question I would have is, you had made the comment, Cindy, that, the cost of the project has grown significantly over, you may not have said significantly, but has grown over what was initially estimated. I need to be reminded, what was the initial estimate of this project? Was it like 2.5 million or 2.2 or X? I can't remember what X is out there.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to answer that, and then Cindy can clarify if she has some add-ons. So the estimated cost of the project was the $5.5 million, which includes construction, engineering, and also there was a contingency in there that brought it up to the 5.5 million, and that's what our members voted and approved on. Now, although we don't have the exact number in front of you, we have not, spent that 5.5 million because we had a contingency in there, and we still have probably a couple $100,000 of a contingency money that we have not spent on that $5.5 million budget. And again, you have to remember that we have the $3 million grant, that all of the monies that we've spent up to this point of that 5.5 million have been paid by the DNR at a 50% rate. So there's no way we're ever going to get to that 5.5 million because we have the $3 million grant. It would almost be like, if you added the 3 million onto the 5.5, it would be 8.5 million. We're never going to get there. We're never going to get to the 5.5 because we have this $3 million grant that will be deducted from that.
I'm gonna now.
So, I want to make sure that, so the grant value, which can't be 3 million if the limit of the project is 5.5, the grant can't be 3 million. It has to be half of 5.5, which would be, 275, whatever, out there for that value. But that grant was never looked at as far as reducing that commitment by the property owners of 5.5 million. That was still going to be, that could still be reached. I guess the question that I'm getting at is if we don't know what the incurred costs are right now, are you comfortable that you will be able to get to completion without exceeding the 5.5 that you have authority to charge from your residents?
Can I provide just a quick update? I did suddenly remember that we did report on this at our annual meeting, so I have that information. So this is the construction finance information as of August 6th. The total construction payments to date, so that includes the contractor, engineer, legal, permitting, we had a lot of permitting costs, utilities, and financing, was $4,475,917. Now, we've also received revenue to date. So we've received $2,609,000 from the DNR, and we received interest earnings. We're also investing some of our money. So we've received $102,192 in interest earnings. Just to clarify, the $5.5 million, and I may have said this incorrectly, is not the total amount that we can spend. It's not the total cost. It's the total amount that can be charged. So we don't anticipate doing this, but for example, if we spent $6 million and got $3 million in reimbursement, we could still do that and charge the property owners only $3 million. So I think the answer to your question is yes, that we do still anticipate that we'll be within that $5,500,000. Is that correct, Rick?
Yeah, and probably why we're making the communication of that so complex is because we've always used, or in the past, we've used half. The project will be half because of the DNR grant. And some people kill us on that. So don't use that in any newspaper articles or anything like that. But the easy answer is it'll be half.
Or it'll be less. It'll be less than $5.5 million. We're just not sure the exact amount at this point.
So if.
And also it'll be, oh, I'm sorry.
So to follow up with that question, so technically, your limit is not 5.5, it's closer to maybe 8 million, because you could spend up to 8 million, because you could reduce that by 3 million, so that would give you the 500,000, 5 million change cap, is that right?
I think theoretically, that certainly isn't our plan, and I think the property owners would be very disappointed if that were to happen.
But that is a possibility though, correct? It could go up that high, and then you reduce it by 3 million. Because if I'm a landowner, I would look at, okay, your limit was 550, we're gonna get 3 million, but you can't use it. We're only gonna have a $2.5 million exposure compared to, it sounds like you already got a little bit, you're up to 4 point some million already. That's how I would have perceived this.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and that is exactly how I was, perceiving this, that if the, going back to that other slide we were looking at before, if the cost of the project is 5.5 and there was a grant to cover half of that, then I would expect that exposure to the property owners would also be half, because of that grant. And so, I'm not here to necessarily scrutinize the cost of the project. I'm just saying, because we've seen this and we've been through this for, well, as long as since I've been on the board here too. I certainly hope that this was communicated clearly with the membership up there, and because you have, you shared with us your vote totals on approval of that. I'm going to assume that majority of the property owners there do understand this, and they understand it clearly, and more clearly than I guess I did, Mr. Chair.
Any comments, Cindy?
I guess the only thing I'd like to say is that I did report on the payments and the reimbursements to date, and we are currently, the net between the payments and the reimbursements, we're under $2 million at this point. Now, we've held payments to the contractor, and we know that, and we know that we're gonna have some ongoing costs for this repair, but we still do anticipate that, that we're gonna be able to finish this project and be under the $5.5 million. We just don't know if it'll be exactly half.
And to clarify that, Cindy, when you say under the 5.5, that's without using the grant money. Is that right?
That's with using the grant money.
And
So in other words, so maybe we'll spend, and I'm just gonna give numbers, let's pretend that we spend $6 million and get $3 million in reimbursement, that would still be $3 million that would be charged to the property owners, which is still under the 5.5.
And so, Mr. Chair, to that point, that goes, so that now we're going full circle here, but so that point, on that previous slide where that we referenced, where the per property parcel assessment was calculated with a cost of 5.5 million without the DNR grant. So really, if as you say, that total exposure by the lid after the grant is utilized, as you just said, maybe the total costs are 6 million, the grant covers half that, now you're at 3 million. So this standard charge and estimated average total assessment, which is calculated at 5.5, would now be calculated at 3, and so it would be reflective of that. So instead of 9 million, it would be, somewhere probably closer to, not 9 million, 9,364 would probably be somewhere closer to, let's say 5.5, 5,000 or 5,500. I can't do the math here in my head, but it would be reflective of that. And those numbers those per parcel assessment numbers would change, correct?
Correct.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Rick and Bob, for your patience with me. I wanted to make sure that we could at least get to that point there too. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more discussion? Cindy, you had something to say?
Nope, I'm fine, thank you. I want to thank the board actually for being supportive.
We're getting a little feedback here, so maybe, I don't know there's some noise in the back. We got background noise. So anyway, we have a motion and a second, gentlemen. Any more
Mr. Chair?
discussion? Commissioner Casper.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a simple question. Has a contractor told you, say they make repairs, I don't know if it's a frost heave or what's going on with that pipe, they make repairs, how long did the contractor, have they told you how long it would take to pump the lake down that foot over high water mark?
Rick, you're muted.
Mr. Chairman, we have a chart for that based on how many inches it takes to pump the lake down. So right now, while we were a foot above, and I don't know the exact numbers, but there's a chart for like 2 weeks for every inch or something like that. So we do know the exact number of how long it'd take. And we're not talking years, we're talking months.
Very well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else, gentlemen? I have a motion and a second. If we could read one more time, please.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair, and that is to approve the 2025 budget, 2025 performance plan, and levy charge of $894.20 for the Lake Chaminade.
Thank you. That's correct. Is this a roll call? Yeah, this one. I mean, I can have it for a roll call. if you like.
I was just curious.
All right. Anyway, so now we have that, so that's what we agreed with the motion and the second is for. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That'll do her.
No,
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next year.
Thanks for being
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Pretty easy one today for you, Bob, huh?
Nothing's been easy. It's been a challenge. We'll get her done.
All right, thanks, Bob.
You bet.
Anyway,
Thank you guys.
Keep up the good
moving
work.
up, should we keep, do we need a break or should we just keep going here and get her done? Let's get her done. All right, moving right along. Administrator.
Just one announcement, Mr. Chair, that Thursday morning at 8:30, we'll be conducting a fire drill here in the Government Center.
Okay, and if there's nothing else, let's move on to our committee reports. And the dates will be
October 13th through October 26th.
13th through the 26th. Commissioner Zelinski, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, on Monday, the 14th of October, there's an AMC District 5 meeting, and that's being held in Brainerd, and I'm intending on attending that meeting. On the 15th at 8:30 in the morning, we've got a planning meeting here at the boardroom, followed by a Drainage Authority meeting, and I just have penciled in 10 o'clock, but I don't know what the time is for that. If that has to be,
Mr. Chair, I think we're going to notice that for 9 o'clock.
okay, very good. And then at 6 PM that evening, there is a PCBOA meeting. All three of those are here in the boardroom. On the 16th, at 5 o'clock in the evening, I've got a Hands of Hope meeting, and that meeting should be held virtual. At 7 o'clock that evening, here in the boardroom, there's a Fall Township Board meeting. There's usually a fall meeting and a spring meeting, but this is the fall meeting. And I will not be able to attend that meeting, just for the record. On the 17th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll have a virtual meeting with the Central Region pertaining to the Central Minnesota Owners and Operators as users and RAC will be on the 17th. That's virtual. And then, on the 21st, as a matter of on the 21st, I'm sorry, as a matter of information, at 5 o'clock in the evening, at the Falls Ballroom, there's a kinship soup and chili supper. On the 22nd, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a county board meeting. On the 24th, on Thursday, the 24th, at 12:30 in the afternoon, I have a State Emergency Communications Board meeting. That meeting is virtual, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Casper.
Okay, Mr. Chair, on the 15th, that Tuesday, I have at 1700 in the afternoon, Great River Regional Library meeting, St. Cloud. And then on Thursday, the 17th, Airport Commission at noon. And then the only other one I have, other than Jeff's, are at 10 o'clock on Friday, the 25th. Mississippi Headwater Board at Bacchus, Cass County Courthouse. That's it,
All
Mr.
right,
Chair.
Commissioner Blaine.
On Thursday, October 17th at 7 PM, the Egg Society will meet. And I believe they'll probably still meet at the fairgrounds for this month. And the following Thursday, the 24th at 6 PM, Region 5 Economic Development Commission meets at Sourcewell. That's all I have, Mr.
All
Chair.
right, in additional to that, I got a TCC on 24th at 5:30 here in Little Falls. And then Friday the 25th, I have Soil and Water at 8 o'clock. And that finishes me up. Anything else, gentlemen? If not, we will adjourn at 10:49.
Beautiful.